From a truce we never saw coming, to the deal only hurting PGA golfers, here's why the LIV PGA merger is a disaster for golf. It's crazy, isn't it? The PGA has agreed to merge with the Saudi-backed LIV. For 2 years, there was nothing but war between the two. Now though, the two organizations, plus the DP World Tour, have decided to combine their commercial assets and form a new for-profit company. Despite all this happening in early June 2023, the new company still doesn't have a name for it. This isn't exactly the best news for golf though, and I'll tell you why. You see, LIV's backed by the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, the PIF, which, in turn, is controlled by the Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman. Well, let's just say the guy's controversial as hell. He's known for breaching human rights violations time and time again. Yet, the PGA Tour officials decided to get in bed with the guy. Make it make sense. Well, you gotta look at it from the PGA's perspective here too. LIV was suing the hell out of PGA. They sued the rival league over its monopolistic control over the elite golfers, and things weren't going the PGA's way. The PGA filed antitrust claims against LIV too, claiming that the Saudi-backed league was stifling competition. A condition of the merger is that all existing lawsuits will be dropped. On top of that, the PIF is all set to invest billions into the new shared company. I guess the officials have made their peace with the merger, but what about the rest of the world? Here's what PGA Tour Policy Board Commissioner Jay Monahan had to say. There is much work to do to get us from a framework agreement to a definitive agreement, but through this transformational agreement, and with PIF's collaborative investment, the immeasurable strength of the PGA Tour's history, legacy, and pro-competitive model not only remains intact, but is supercharged for the future. That's honestly a whole lot of nothing if you ask me. Jay didn't even talk about the main issue. No, not taking the Saudis' money despite calling it blood money once, but he stifled his own players. The guy just said that he acknowledges the shock and anger that was triggered because of the merger. Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't they be shocked and angry? This deal ruined golf for a lot of fans. You see, LIV's been the subject of criticism and controversy in the United States because people believe that Saudi Arabia has been using its massive amounts of oil money to sports wash its image and distract from the kingdom's human rights track record. Banking on that sentiment, the PGA used the families of the victims of 9/11 to call out players who were leaving to go join LIV Golf. If you ask me, the 9/11 Families United, the group representing the victims' families, is the real loser here. They were asked to weaponize their dead loved ones for the PGA Tour once, only for the two organizations to now merge. In 2022, even LIV's own golfer, Phil Mickelson, called the Saudis scary mother. The PGA spent 2 years trying to invoke sympathy and support by claiming that it would never sell out to anything like that, only to, sell out. One of the members of the group said that the PGA Tour leaders should be ashamed of their hypocrisy. The member, whose husband passed away in the terror attacks, said that the entire community feels betrayed. She also claimed that the entire campaign against LIV was because of their quest for money, not to honor the great game of golf. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? Especially because so many folks sympathized with these families, and so many fans just aren't comfortable watching the game anymore. How else does this merger hurt golf? Well, money. Money's always been involved in the sport. Still, the Saudi willingness to overpay athletes has led to a major problem. There's an overvaluation of talent, and that has led to inflated salaries, which other leagues failed to match. These bloated salaries have skewed perceptions and expectations. At first, this was more like a PGA problem, right? The tour kept losing its players to LIV because of money. Well, now it's going to be a golf problem. The problem is, athletes are going to start asking for more and more money, and the PIF will just keep pouring in billions and billions. Because, sports washing. This means that the future of the game depends on whoever's got the most cash and whoever's willing to spend it the most freely. Yes, that's exactly how the world works and all. I get it. It was clear from day one that golf's all about the cash, but now it's going to be even more obvious. Eventually, Saudi Arabia will be controlling the entire sport. What you've got to know here is that the PIF isn't just buying a seat at the table. No, it's altering the blueprints, it's rewiring the building and painting it a whole new color. Think about how they were at each other's throats. Everyone at the time thought that it would end with a bang, not with a freaking merger. Come on. It's clear that both sides just want money and want nothing to do with morality. Considering that these are the priorities that have been set, I can't even imagine what's going to happen to the sport or the athletes. And you know what? I'm not the only one who think this merger's a disaster for golf. I mean, the Department of Justice's Antitrust Division does too. The department has told the PGA Tour that it'll review the entity's merger with the Saudi-funded LIV. However, the PGA has said that it's confident that once everyone learns more about it, the new venture, and LIV, people will start to realize that this merger does nothing but benefits its fans, players, and the game. It also says that this merger will protect the American institution of golf. You see, the reason why the DOJ got involved was because it was already investigating PGA because it's not unusual for us antitrust authorities to check transactions like that. Just because it's reviewing the transaction, it doesn't mean that the merger is problematic. However, Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren and a few other lawmakers have asked the DOJ to open a probe into the agreement. It makes sense that Washington's worried about all of this, because the relationship was so bad at one point, and then all of a sudden, everything's better. On top of that, the lawsuits were antitrust. But then the two combined to make an even bigger organization, and well, isn't that even more antitrust now? So golf is now riddled with easy money, DOJ investigations, and upset fans. But there's more to why this entire thing is a disaster for golf, and that's how the players are being affected. I mean, yeah, they're gonna make more money, that's for sure. But just so many PGA players were heavily against LIV. And they were adamant that they weren't gonna do business with the Saudis. I mean, these guys stuck by the tour through thick and thin, turning down massive sums of money, because they believe this is what's good for society and this is what's good for the sport. And then these guys weren't even made part of any of the merger talks. Even golfer Colin Morikawa tweeted sarcastically that he loves finding out morning news on Twitter. Don't even get me started on how Rory McIlroy feels about the entire thing. He had a war of words and insults with Phil Mickelson, and then all of a sudden, the tour he would have died defending sided with the very guy who was his enemy. Commissioner Jay Monahan would always take shots at Mickelson and Brooks Koepka for taking the big bag of cash. Well, in the end, Monahan ended up taking that big bag of cash as well. The PGA's got so many good players that stayed instead of accepting all that money. And what do they get in return for their loyalty? Nothing. They don't get a single thing, and the players who got rich through LIV will have a way to come back. And even if the players who left the PGA are punished for leaving eventually, the point is that this will create a lot of animosity against everyone, and it's going to dishearten a lot of people, killing the game that we all love so much. And there you have it. From the deal only hurting PGA golfers to a truce we never saw coming, that was why the LIV PGA merger is a disaster for golf.